Welcome to the Let Your Spirit Guides Speak podcast. I'm Debra Engle, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today for information about living a happier and more creative life with the help of your personal spirit guides. You can find this podcast and many others at sacredstoriesmedia.com. Also, you'll find my book, Let Your Spirit Guides Speak, on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and at your favorite independent bookstores. And please stop by my website, debraengle.com, for information about upcoming events and workshops. That's DebraEngle.com. Today we're going to talk about a topic that speaks right to the heart, literally, of who we are, and that's love. Finding it, keeping it, recovering from it, living with it. How can your spirit guides help you find the greatest love of your life? The answer to that, I think, may surprise you. To start, I want to share with you some of my own story about finding love, because I think I'm not unique in my life's journey. My journey to find love was similar to what I hear from others every day. And I've spent a lot of time looking back, looking at what worked, what didn't work, and where was I in terms of fear and love as I went through my life with different relationships. I'll also talk about the role that my spirit guides served in that journey and how they can really help you along the way as well. I'm going to break it down to the ways that your spirit guides can help you avoid some of the bumps in the road that I experienced and take a more direct path to love. Now, the very first thing that I want to say is that the biggest thing I learned is that love is not something you go out and find. Love is what you are. Discovering the love within you is the real romance. That's the real way to fall in love. And once you fall in love with yourself, you'll easily magnetize the person who's right for you as a partner. So let me tell you my story, and I think all of that will be a little bit clearer. Back when I was 21 years old, I got married right out of college, which was according to my plan. And I always laugh when I say this, because what happened was in my junior year, I said to myself and to God and to whoever was listening, hey, I've got a plan. What I'd really like is to not be alone after I graduate from college, because I was the youngest of 6 kids. I'd never spent time alone. I didn't know what it would mean to go off into my life and create a life for myself. I thought that was so scary to me that I had to have a partner. I had to have a husband. So this was my plan, to meet someone my junior year of college, to date through that junior year, to get engaged our senior year, and then to get married soon after I graduated from college, so I would never have to spend any time alone. And you know what? That's exactly what happened. I met someone my junior year, we dated, we got engaged, we got married about a month and a half after I graduated from college. The problem was that I had forgotten to really ask for love, because I didn't know what that was in terms of self-love. I didn't know that I needed to get there first before I could really find a partner. So what happened was that the marriage was really based on fear. It was based on my fear of finding somebody to keep me feeling safe and protected. And it was based on his fear, too, of, in a way, wanting the same things. It turns out that we were really kind of desperate for each other, but not in a good way. That was not a good foundation for a marriage, because it was all really fear in the disguise of love. So after about 7-8 years, we got divorced. I was 29 years old. And guess what? I ended up living on my own, having to create my own life, because that very thing that I had been trying so desperately to avoid was the thing that I needed most for my own growth. So over about the next 15 years of being single, I spent a lot of time taking classes and going to workshops and working with healers and really exploring myself, getting to know who I was. I can't say that I set out to do that intentionally. That was just the byproduct, and byproduct really isn't the right word, because it was the only product, because it helped me get to the place where I really knew and remembered myself and that I could be in love with myself. And once I got there, then everything could change. So I went through a number of transformations and aha moments and miracle thinking in those 15 years. And it all culminated one day when I had had so many bad relationships. I kept joking that I had flunked Relationships 101 over and over and over again, because it seemed like even though I had been learning about myself, getting to know myself better, I still kept doing the same thing. I kept attracting the person who was not right for me, just in a slightly different package. And when I say that he wasn't right, he wasn't available, he was maybe not trustworthy, he was an idea of what I wanted, but he wasn't the truth of what I wanted, and I didn't even know what that was. So finally, I remember so clearly the day that I sat down, went into a meditation, and became very clear about the fact that I had no idea how to find the person I was looking for, or even what I wanted in a partner, what I really needed. And that was the moment of relinquishment, where I said to my guides, please help me. I don't know how to find this person, but I know that you do. So I'm going to put this in your hands and ask you to take care of it for me. In that moment, there was a miracle that occurred. I could feel a change in thinking, a natural shift in perception, and an occurrence of love that happened in my own mind, because I could feel myself setting that down, that whole expectation that I was supposed to find my perfect partner. I was setting it down and handing it to my guides and saying, I'm done. I can't do it, but I know and I trust that you will do it for me. Now, after 15 years of being single and of being in and out of different dating relationships, within 5 weeks after I experienced that moment of relinquishment, I went to a dance, happened to be a barn dance, and there saw this man standing across the barn. And as soon as I saw him, I just thought, There was an interest there. There was almost kind of a flicker of remembering. We ended up dancing together that evening. He asked for my number. He called later that evening and asked me out. And exactly 1 year later, 1 year after we met each other at that barn dance, we got married and had a barn dance of our own as the reception. Now, I can tell you that after Bob and I met, I started going through a period of my ego trying to sabotage the whole thing. It was clear to me that this was a man who was ready for love, and I could feel that I finally was ready for it too. But my ego was so unhappy about that. My ego wanted to keep me stuck and keep me out of love, not in love. So it kept coming up with reasons why this wasn't the perfect man. He liked country music, and I didn't necessarily like country music. You know, he'd lived on a farm growing up, and I had lived in the city. I kept going through this whole list of the differences between us, even though they made no real difference at all, because the truth was that we were right for each other. And the guides, the universe, God had conspired to bring us together. We were both finally in a place where we could magnetize each other, and that's what had happened. And I can tell you that the more I tried to sabotage it, the more my guides were right there, very clearly saying to me, you know, if you give up on this relationship, you're not just giving up on this person, you're giving up on love itself, because we're handing it to you. We're saying, here it is. This is what you've always wanted. And if you turn your back on it, just know what it is that you're really doing. You're not rejecting this person. You're rejecting your love, who you are, and the potential for love and the growth of it in your life. I got that message over and over and over again. And finally, through my guide's patience, and I would have to say through Bob's patience as well, I finally got to the place where I could relinquish that ego need to sabotage, just like I had relinquished the need to find this relationship on my own. And when I finally got to that place and allowed myself to be the love that I am, that's when the relationship really took off. And before too long, we were planning the wedding. We've been married now for 15 and a half years. And, you know, I can't say that it's been perfect. We've had our conflicts. We've had things that drive us crazy about each other. But underneath all of that, there is this incredible commitment and bond. And it's because we honor and see the love that we have for the other person. But even more than that, we see the love that the other person is. The pure manifestation of love. I can look at my husband and I can say, this is a child of God. This is a person of goodness and light and purity and innocence. And I can see that in him, even when he's done something to drive me absolutely crazy. And he can do the same thing for me. So what did I learn from all of this? What can I share with you that might be helpful for you? Well, there are several things. The first one is, again, that we really don't have to go out and find love. I spent all of those years thinking I had to go find that perfect person. I had to sign up for dating sites. I had to go to singles events. I just had to keep my radar open and out there all the time looking for some opportunity to meet that right guy. Now, it's not to say that we shouldn't put ourselves in situations where we'll meet people. Obviously, if I hadn't gone to the barn dance that night, I wouldn't have met Bob that night. But what I'm saying is that we don't have to go out and find love thinking that the love that we're looking for is in that person out there. We need to know that the love is who we are. And when we learn that, we will start to see love all around us. When I first got divorced, I was really in a pretty deep depression, just so discouraged, thinking that I had wasted all of the years of my 20s, and really kind of despondent about the choices that I had made, and not able to see that there were good men out there that could present themselves for future relationships. I was one of those people who said, yeah, I'm almost 30 years old. All the good guys are taken. I'm sunk. I'm never going to find anybody. Well, at that moment, I went to see a healer who said to me, the world is full of men, of wonderful, good men. There is an abundance of them all around you. All you have to do is open your eyes and see them. I can tell you that it actually took me several years before I could trust that and believe it and experience it. Because why did it take so long? It was because I was still in that place of not trusting the love that I was. And if I didn't know that I was love, then I couldn't see the love in anybody else. Obviously, what we're talking about here is not just romantic love. It's not Hallmark cards and flowers on Valentine's Day. This is a deeper kind of love. We're talking about the love that is the essence of who we are and what this universe is made of. It's that divine spark, that part of God that we are because we were created by God and by divinity. When we can be in touch with that and fall in love with that, then honestly, it doesn't even matter who else is in our life because we get to be in that place of joy and romance with ourselves and with all of what this world is, of who we are and who we're here to be. So just remember, you don't have to go out searching for love. This is all about searching for the barriers that you have within yourself that stand in the way of you knowing who you are as a child of God. So another takeaway is that the right person really will come into your life at the right time. So patience is huge. If you try to rush it or make this happen according to your schedule, it'll be very much like I was in college, where you may be attracting a person who's completely wrong for you because you're so insistent on meeting your schedule, which is set up according to fear instead of according to love. Remember that your guides have a much bigger picture than you do of everything, of who you are, of your potential partner, of the timing that it needs to be to bring the two of you together, of the choreography that needs to happen in order for that to take place. And it's also so important that you need to be in the best place that you can to attract another person who's in the best place that they are. You know, one of the reasons that I attracted a partner when I was 21 years old who was not right for me is that I was not right for myself. I was at a lower vibration where I didn't know myself and the love that I am. In that place, the only person that I could attract was someone who was in a very similar vibration or similar stage in their life. After those 15 years of doing so much self-growth and self-discovery and spiritual work, and then finally that relinquishment, handing over the whole assignment of finding my partner to my guides, I was in such a higher vibration, such a better space. And from that place, I could attract a person who was really good for the best part of myself and vice versa. So know that patience is key. And it's just like we've said before on these podcasts, my favorite definition of patience is waiting for divine timing and finding something creative to do in the meantime. So it doesn't mean as you're waiting for your perfect partner to come to your life that you are just sitting around doing nothing. You're doing all of the things that you're most passionate about, the things that you enjoy the most, and most of all, the things that reflect the love, creativity, gifts, peace, joy that you are. Because when you're operating from that place, you can't help but attract someone who's in a similar place. And isn't that what you want? Someone, a partner that you can have who will totally enjoy this life with you. A third thing to pay attention to, a third takeaway, is to trust that you'll know when a relationship is right and when it's not right. Different people certainly are going to come into your life, but that doesn't mean that you have to marry all of them. I was very comforted by a friend who, years ago, before Bob and I met, I said something to her about the fact that I felt like I'd been dating all the wrong people. And she said, yeah, but you didn't marry any of them. And I thought, well, she's right. I need to give myself credit for that. I at least knew to bring a relationship to a halt in some way, either by kind of nudging that person out the door or walking away myself, to know that it wasn't exactly what I was looking for and that it wasn't bringing me joy. So if a relationship isn't bringing you joy, if it doesn't feel like home, if it doesn't feel as though you and that other person can expand the love in your life, then check in with your guides, because they can tell you for sure whether this person is right for you or not. But you will already have that answer. If the relationship makes you feel heavy and less than who you are and weighed down, and like you have to just rely on each other in order to find a safe place in this world, probably not the person for you. But if that relationship makes you feel light and joyful and playful and brings out the best in you and makes you want to go out into the world and share this relationship with even more people through the joy that you feel, then you can be pretty sure that this is the relationship that's right. Okay. And a fourth thing, just recognize that even though you want love, like I did, your ego might try to sabotage it when it comes along. So listen to your guides. Sit down and have a conversation with them. Be aware of what you're doing and the thoughts that are going through your own mind. And you can become more aware of those by just sitting in silence and contemplation with your guides on a daily basis. And let them speak to you however they do, however they communicate with you. They'll give you some guidance on whether you're trying to sabotage from the ego or whether you're relaxing into this relationship and accepting it and being grateful for it and just allowing yourself to be fully in it. You'll be able to tell that through those communications with your guides. And finally, the fifth takeaway that I would give you from my own relationship is that know that happily ever after looks like continued growth over time. And that's really what makes relationships so exciting. Obviously, when you fall in love with somebody, you do have those moments toward the beginning, and they can last a very long time, where you do feel blissful. You feel like, oh, this is just such extreme joy, and it's what you've wanted your whole life. Obviously, you want to have as many of those moments as you can, and you deserve those. That's what love is all about. But because we're in this world and we do have egos and there are conflicts, we do have different personalities and different desires, there are going to be some challenges. Probably, it's not that you need to set yourself up for that and say this is going to be hard, but let yourself know that the relationship can be easy, but it can be easy because you can recognize the differences in each other, honor them, and not try to change the other person, not try to fix the other person. That was one of the big things that should have been a big red flag for me in my first marriage, is that I kept thinking, my he just is pretty surly. He doesn't really have much joy in life, but he's such a good person deep down. I think I can really bring that out in him. I think I can change him. Well, if you find yourself thinking that at all in a relationship, know that maybe it's not the right relationship for you, or sit down with your guides and have a conversation about the fact that your ego wants to try to fix and control, and that that's not really an expression of love. The greatest expression of love is to allow the person that you're with to be who they are, to have their own struggles, to grow at their own pace, to do things differently than you would, to make different decisions, but to honor them by saying, yeah, they're a child of God. And I know that when they're acting out, they're just in a place of fear, just like I get in a place of fear. So the best thing that I can do when they're in that spot is to bring compassion to it, to bless them, to let them know that they have my support, and not to take on any of their stuff, any of their anger or their blame or their bad day. You can sit there and you can see the light in them, even while they're going through a bad time. Just be that source of light for them and know that you get to maintain your peace and your love, even when you're living in the same household with somebody who may not be in that space right now. So if there's one thing that I want you to remember from this podcast, it's that you are love. And when you fall in love with yourself, you open the door to love in every single part of your life. So you can partner with your guides very deliberately and very intentionally in order to do this. Here are 3 things that you can do starting today. One is to sit down with your guides, and again, in whatever form of communication is right with you. It could be through journaling, it could be through listening, it could be through dreams or walks in nature, however you communicate with your guides best. Ask them to show you a view of your higher self. And what I mean by this is that so much of the pictures that we have of ourselves in our mind's eye, even when we look in the mirror, we're seeing our bodies. We're seeing reflections of our ego mind. We're seeing all of those fears of, oh, I've put on a few pounds, or, oh, this is a bad hair day, or, oh, I feel like I'm looking older, or, boy, I really should lose a few pounds before I can ever find the love of my life. We are seeing ourselves so much through the eyes of fear. And what you want to do is really spend time with your guides, asking them to help you see yourself through the eyes of love. You can do this in so many different ways. You can make lists of all of your strengths and your attributes and your gifts. You can ask your guides to talk to you about yourself, about what makes you so unique and the gift, this child of God that you are. You can ask them to literally show them a picture of not your physical ego human self, but your higher self. Who are you on a spiritual level? What do you look like? How do you act? How are you different from this sometimes fear-based personality that you've taken on? I did this a number of different times, and I can tell you it was so powerful because I was able to get a real image in my mind and even have conversations with this higher self that allowed me to see that the essence of who I am, oh my gosh, is so much more than I ever knew myself to be. So that's number 1. Number 2 is truly to relinquish any desire to have control or any illusion of having control over finding love. Acknowledge that while you may have preferences about who you want to spend your life with, that you really don't know how to find the person who's right for you, because that person may look very different than you think. They may have a different job than you think. They might be a different age than you expect. You might meet them in a very serendipitous way that you would never, ever have anticipated before. Your guides know how to make all of that happen, and you don't. So just put that assignment in their hands and then say, thank you, trust. And when that right person comes along, when they bring that person into your life, celebrate. Express your gratitude, your appreciation, and especially your love. And then third is, again, to remember that the love that you are is who you are no matter who else is in your life. So if you go through a breakup or eventually lose your life partner, know that while you may grieve, that loss doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change how lovable you are, that you're whole, and that you are love itself. Right now, I'm working with a woman who's writing about her marriage, a lifelong marriage. And obviously she grieved when her husband of many, many years passed away. But she also knew that through that marriage and through the life that she would live after his passing, that she would continue to be the love that she was and even know more, explore more about who she is. And in truth, that she would still be able to be in contact with her husband and still be supported by him, even though he's no longer here with her. So she's a perfect example of that idea that our lives don't end when somebody breaks up with us or when we lose a partner. we're not losing love because we still have ourselves. And that's where the love has been all along. So that's the main thing that I want you to remember. And I hope you'll play this podcast back over and over again if you need to from time to time, because it's so easy to forget these things. We just need those little reminders to get back to this place of remembering who we are. So to help you with that, I want to do a short visualization just to finish up. I want you to, as we move into this visualization, just be in a place where you can really relax, where you can take just a few minutes for yourself. Know that when the visualization is over, the podcast will be over as well. And at that point, I encourage you to pick up a pen and paper or sit in front of the computer or speak into your phone and just record any thoughts or any feelings, anything that you experienced during this visualization. So with that, I also want to say thank you again for listening. I really hope that you enjoyed this podcast and know that there's so much more to come. So don't forget to subscribe to the Sacred Stories podcast stream on iTunes. And if you'd like more information about your spirit guides, please pick up a copy of Let Your Spirit Guides Speak through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and your independent bookstore. Also, I'd love to hear any questions or experiences you have about meeting and getting to know your guides. And you can find my contact information on my website, debraengle.com. With that, let's go ahead and move into the guided visualization. What I'd like you to do, again, is just to sit very quietly. Start to get very comfortable in your seat, wherever you are. And then take in a deep, deep breath. Really fill up your lungs, and then let it go with a sigh. Take in another deep breath, and let it go. Feeling yourself relaxing just a little bit more. Then once again, take in another deep, deep breath. And let it out. If you feel any fear or blockage or fatigue in your body, just take a deep breath into that place in your body, breathing in love and light and healing. And then exhale anything that no longer serves you. Making space for a new experience. And for complete relaxation. And now move your attention to a place just above your navel, the solar plexus, the seat of the soul. And become aware of a light or a flame burning there. You might see a candle or a lantern, or simply feel a warm glow. You can even put your hands on your abdomen and allow yourself to feel the warmth of your own light. And now see the circle of light extending from this flame, knowing that this is your essence, your connection to spirit, and this is the love that you are. As you sit quietly, just breathe into that light and that love. And see it growing and expanding with every breath. Feel the purity and the innocence in that love. If you feel any resistance, any sense of not deserving that love, or not being one with it, Just ask your guides to heal those thoughts so that you can fully feel your own worth and uniqueness and gifts. Express your thanks to your guides for helping you feel this. And know that that love is who you are, no matter what's going on around you or who else is in your life. Just feel that continued expansion of love and let yourself soak it in. Knowing that all is well. Now take a moment to silently express gratitude to your guides for helping you to know who you are as the very essence of love itself. Know that you can come back to this place, this feeling, and this remembrance at any time because it is always with you. Now take in a deep breath. Let it out with a sigh. And then very gently and slowly, and as you're ready, open your eyes. Come back to your space. And record anything that you'd like to remember from your experience.